Welcome, everybody, to the Tea with Ms McGill Show. Give us a follow. We had some recent followers this week. Jake Doherty, Justin Duggar, and Murray Anderson. And I can tell you, these are all pristine gentlemen, so be just like them. Give them a follow. As a matter of fact, playoff hockey's right around the corner. You're going to want to catch all the action, so you want to follow us anyway. So hit the follow or subscribe button. Seating meetings, Reed, next week, or is that too early? 2 weeks?
It's going to be next Wednesday, a week from today.
Okay, so you're going to want to follow the show. So you're kept abreast of all that. And we talked a little bit about Instagram last week, the Tea with Ms McGill on Instagram. Of course, TJ Thomas, the hockey legend, the Golden Bear himself from Evel. He jumps on there, finds us some subscribers. Subscriber numbers are up. But if you are on Instagram, please go over there and give us a follow there too. We'd appreciate that. And on Facebook, we're at 195. So one of you will be lucky number 200 followers. So like I said, go ahead and do that now. We'd appreciate that. I am Puka speaking. To my left and to your right, the star of the show, Reed Larson. How's the week?
Well, so far so good. I can't complain about Tuesday night's festivities as the Thunderhawk coach. I'm sure you've got some pretty good conversation to talk about here tonight with the Rock Ridge versus Hermantown game. I did want to punch in one piece of information that we got to make sure that we throw out there as well. You said that Facebook is pumping. We've got our Goat Sports Media YouTube. We've also got the Instagram, and we just started a Twitter handle right now too, as well.
Yeah. So if you want to get on the Twitter, it's T McGill, just T McGill, all one word, capital T, capital M on T McGill. So you can follow us now on Twitter too. So yes, great. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And so get subscribed. Like I said, playoffs are coming, seeding meetings coming. You want to catch all the action, state tournaments coming. So as a matter of fact, today felt like state tournament weather at what, 45
Yeah,
degrees.
it was perfect. It was 45 degrees. I haven't been home yet today, so I don't know, but it's probably a pool in my driveway of snowbanks starting to come into my driveway. We'll see, but I can't complain right now because as I was walking out of the school to go to the rink for practice today, the sun was shining, and I put my sunglasses on for the first time in 2 months.
First time, long time. Yeah. It's slushy out there. Well, now it'll probably firm up by the time we're done with this, but the temps are dropping. But yeah, very sloppy. Just you don't need to worry about washing your car for a while. It's gonna be a mess. It looks like the temps are gonna stay pretty nice, pretty tidy. All right, episode 54. We will start tonight with our Section 7A update, presented as always by our friends over at Aspire Heating and Control, your local Bryant dealer. Bryant is the official heating and cooling company of the Minnesota Wild. They specialize in gas, electric, and hydronic heating and cooling systems for new and existing construction, commercial and residential installations available, forced air systems, boilers, heat pumps, mini splits. I actually know what a mini split is. They're the ones that go in your, you ever see those air conditioners go in your wall or heat? Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was for the longest time, but that's what those are. They are, of course, licensed and bonded. So if you're having any furnace trouble, Justin is the guy you call, 999-5957, 218-999-5957. Our friend Justin will take good care of you, so call him today if you're in need of his services.
I'm glad that you mentioned what a mini split is, because now since we've had that as one of our sponsors here for the show, and you've said that with every episode this season, I've every single time have said what.
Yeah, I wonder.
The H is a mini split.
I'm
glad you explained that. Now
I've seen plenty of those.
I know.
I didn't know that's what they were called. So yeah, get a mini split.
Perfect.
Cool.
Give
Yeah.
Justin a call.
And saves a lot of space. Just go right up on the wall. All right, so we'll start out. I said last night, Tuesday night, Rock Ridge. We previewed this last week. Paid a visit down to Hermantown. 3-0 after the first. Shots were pretty lopsided, but Rock Ridge really came out with some fire in the second. Second period ends up 3-1. I would say Rock Ridge definitely had the edge in the second. Hawks didn't like a double-A team coming into their rink. That's what it was. Well, it was Rock Ridge. They did not like that.
Well, a future double-A.
Yeah. So, but Hermantown scored a pretty timely goal early in the third, and the score ends up being 6-1. Along with that, Chisholm Hibbing paid a visit down to Northern Lakes. They end up getting a loss on that deal, 5-4 in overtime. So, with kind of knowing what's happening here, so I kind of look back at some stats. Rock Ridge has lost 4 of their last 5. Hibbing is 3-2 in their last 5. We know they meet for a big one next week. So obviously a little bit more pressure now on Rock Ridge. Well, let me back up. Plus the rankings came out. Go to Goat Sports on Facebook. You can see the rankings. Hibbing actually propelled to number 6. Last week they were 8-9. Rock Ridge 8, Hibbing 9. Now this week, Hibbing is 6. Rock Ridge drops all the way back to 18. So between the losses for both teams, but then the ranking difference, kind of
Well, I
sounds like the
think-
pressure's on Rock Ridge.
It is, and I think these rankings that come in, if you follow in the Let's Play Hockey rankings that come through, the coaches, there's a select top 20 or whatever. There's 20 coaches that they use from each single A and double A, and they rank these teams. These coaches pay attention to games and this and that. And I believe that because I did it for 1 year where I voted on that for single A for 1 year when I was in Virginia, and they ask you to get those rankings in, late on Tuesday or whatever it is. Or excuse me, they have to get it Monday night so that they can post it Tuesday morning, the 7th. So if you looked at Let's Play Hockey, updated on February 7th, because they got the rankings in probably late at night on Monday before the game was played. So I don't know that with that ranking where Hibbing gets propelled to, rank number 6, that was probably already voted on before Tuesday night. They make the trip to Breezy Point and get knocked off in overtime by Northern Lakes. So that's not a really good loss for them right now. At any rate, when you look at some common opponents, Hibbing or Greenway actually beat Northern Lakes at the Snake Pit not too long ago. It was 5-3. They beat them. So that wasn't too long ago that happened. That was a heartbreaker, kind of a morale kick, I think, for Hibbing to have to take that one just before going into the playoffs. You know what? That happens to every team. So I don't want anybody in the Hibbing Chisholm community to hit the panic button on anything like that. That stuff happens before playoffs, and better now that happens before the quarterfinal game, right?
Sure.
You don't want to get upset in a quarterfinal game because your season's done. Now it's a lesson learned. Coach Rewerts can go back to the drawing board and say, good thing this happened now. Now let's figure it out and move forward. But yeah, you mentioned it. Rock Ridge they got some pressure put on them. The schedules have kind of ramped up now for them over the course of the last couple of weeks. I mean, they've dumped 3 of the last 5 games in their schedule, but they're not to any slouch teams. They ended up losing to Sartell. They ended up losing to Brainerd. And they ended up losing to Hermantown last night. So the good thing about Rock Ridge is they're actually, the schedule has been pretty intense lately. And I think which is forcing them to play at a higher level.
Yeah, because they had a large unbeaten streak from Hibbing from
They did.
December 30th. I think they played and whatever, and they came through till,
They won a 7-game streak.
Yeah. Okay.
Then they got bumped off, and then they got back in the winning ways when they knocked off Denfeld the next week. But now they've been on a run where they've been playing some double A teams, and Sartell's double A, Brainerd's double A. Then they played Hermantown, and obviously Hermantown's number 2 ranked team in single A state. So, yeah, there's some pressure put on them, but really, to be honest with you, I think the pressure is more on Hibbing because they're the distinguished number 2 right now because it's head to head for them.
Okay.
Right. So Rock Ridge has been building. They find themselves at the 3 seed right now. And it's really, if they don't win the game that they have matched up on the 14th, then so be it. They stay right where they are. Yeah. But if Hibbing doesn't win that game and Rock Ridge does, the pressure's on Hibbing. If they lose, they go down.
Okay.
That's just
okay.
So pressure's there for both. But I'm quite honestly, I think there's more on Hibbing. And by the way, I like it that a Chisholm guy, whenever he talks about Hibbing Chisholm, always says Chisholm Hibbing first. I love it.
I think it's supposed to be Hibbing Chisholm, but it's the Chisholm Hibbing Airport, so I'm sticking with Chisholm Hibbing.
Hey, you're a Chisholm guy.
I'm a Chisholm guy. That's right.
I got some Chisholm friends that are out there that would agree with you.
Yeah,
The John Garvers of the world, the Vince Repishes of the world, they would say Chisholm first.
Absolutely. But yeah, we got to get them in there. So, all right. Any more on that?
Nope.
All right. So drill the like button. We'll move on to our 7AA update. This week brought to you by our friends over at the Rink Sports Bar and Grill. We've talked a little bit about them. Now, remember, they did the big gift card sale around the holidays. So like I said, don't lose that. Dust it off. Take it out of the wallet. Head down there. You can call in your orders, 248-8582. You can also go online to the Rink Sports Bar and Grill, put your order in online. Friday fish fry, full menu, open daily, breakfast, lunch, dinner. That's the place you go when you're in the Quad Cities. Like I said, it's right in Evelyn, just down from the Hockey Hall of Fame. The Hockey Hall of Fame is the old Rustic Rock. I think it used to be called that like 20, 30 years ago. So Rink Sports Bar and Grill, like I said, hockey themed. It's a pretty cool place. So go say hi to Michelle. She'll take good care of you there in Evelyn when you're in the Quad Cities. All right. 2 big games for the Thunderhawks over the weekend. Your third or fourth trip south since we turned into 2023 here.
Yeah, it's been this third trip since the new year. We did have a trip down before Christmas. We went down to the Edina Classic. So it was actually the 4th trip on the season down, and out of the 4 trips, 3 of them were overnighters. That's a tough swing there for one season. But yeah, this weekend was down first to Andover, which was a huge Section 7 AA game for both teams. Andover needed to prove that they needed to stay within the top 2 seeds. And Grand Rapids needed to come in as a clear number 3 seed to try and create an argument for the 2, possibly the 1 seed if they win. And to be honest with you, pretty well played game by both teams. Not a whole lot of arguments. Well played game according to us and our coaching staff. Real hard game. We just couldn't put the puck in the net. We struggled getting pucks. I think the difference is in the special teams. I think if we bury a couple of goals, if we go 2 for 3 on the power play or 1 for 4 on the power play, we put ourselves in a better position to fight for a win on that. So I think the special teams in that game were the difference. We just couldn't find the net that night. We did end up scoring 1, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And that team, when you take a look at the top line that Andover has with Gavin Thorson and Cooper Conway and Caden Casey, that's probably one of the top lines in the state. Well, I would say it's one of the top lines in the state, but that's some high level skill that those 3 guys played together last year, and they played together all the way through the state tournament and into a state championship. So those guys have got it figured out. Well, they scored all 4 goals in that game. They had 3 goals and then an open net goal that was credited at the end of the game, which is kind of interesting. That remember this now, just rules with the game, that we pulled our goalie when we're down by 2. It was 3-1. We pull our goalie. One of their players springs a breakaway towards our open net, and our guy catches him from behind and slashes a stick out of his hand. Now, in a normal case, penalty shot. When there's a goalie in there, they call a penalty shot. But if there's no goalie, they're not calling a penalty shot. They just awarded a goal. He never got the goal. He never scored it because he lost a stick. He got it slashed out. So they awarded the 4th goal, which never actually went in the net. They just gave it to him.
Well, and I remember texting you. I mean, you guys had that really good flurry. I think it was in the 2nd period there, and then they kind of went down. And I mean, just a momentum killer. You guys are pressure. And they're going to get a pretty lucky one. It's like, geez, and that's the way the good game goes sometimes.
Right. Well, it's the way it happens. So that's the way that game ended. And as a coaching staff and the team, nobody's pleased with the loss, but very pleased with the effort and the fact that we were in that game, and that I think Andover is going to probably be a little bit more tentative towards playing us. Like they shouldn't feel comfortable coming into playing us in the playoffs. I know that 4-1 looks like a win that was pretty convincing, but to be honest with you, in a 3-1 game where they're awarded the 4th goal, and to be honest with you, all of their goals are scored by their top line and not by any of their depth. Yeah. I'd be concerned if I were them, just considering that we've got a goaltender that at any point in time could win games for us, and he does, and he was lights out between the pipes for us. And all we have to do in the playoffs is Miles plays 3 lights out games, and we could find ourselves in a pretty good spot. So it brings us into Saturday afternoon. We go to Wayzata, and we were talking about this in the pre-show that, we did lose 5-0 to Wayzata. And again, it was a game where it looked like we got thumped. We didn't score on who could be, in my opinion, considered the number 2 goalie in the state, Will Ingman. He's second to Hammer up in Warroad. But Will was pretty steady in the nets, but not a whole lot of chances for us to bury the puck on him. We were in a game. We were in a boat race with those guys for a period and a half. It was literally a 1-goal game, and they were 1-0 going into the 2nd period, up on us, and we're playing with them up and down the rink. Good pace, good jam. They score their second goal shorthanded when we're on the power play. We just made a couple knucklehead plays and it went. We literally in the first probably period and a half of that game made 2 mistakes, and both times we made mistakes that ended up in the back of our net. So after that, we get through that. There's a couple of times where you could just see that the self-destruct button got hit a couple times. It's if we can recognize that we were actually in a game with one of the top 5 rated teams in the state. We're in a game, don't quit now, that we can play with that team. The scoreboard says we got thumped, but actually we only got thumped when we decided to defeat ourselves in the second half of the game and just, okay, we're done.
Okay.
Well, I think guys learned some lessons, and I think just watching film today, guys are like, yeah, we can play with that team. No question about it.
Okay. Well,
so it was an old for weekend. But just coming back on the front to last night, Greenway Raiders came over to the IRA Civic Center last night for the first time since 2020. Rapids and Greenway got a chance to play an old school rivalry that everybody
from the crowd
knows, and not bad, actually. I would say that if you stand in the IRA Civic Center, both sides of the IRA Civic Center were full, and there were some seats on the end in some standing room that were covered up tops. I can't even guess, maybe 2,000 people were there.
Good. Yeah.
But a good crowd and a great rivalry that everybody would like to see stay if it's possible.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I mean, one year, one team could be good. One year, the other team could be good or not so good. It's always an emotional game for teams that are six miles away from each other. And it was a great game for Rapids last night to be able to pump in 10 goals. I felt bad for Greenway because there are a couple guys out of their lineup. Yeah. If they have a few guys back in their lineup, I don't think it's a 10-goal game. I think it's more like 5 or 6.
Sure.
But it was fun to have that game, and it was nice to see Grand Rapids score some goals. But I hope and pray that Greenway can get some guys that heal up here before playoffs.
Yeah, sure.
Because they work hard and they deserve to have, a good showing in playoffs.
Yeah, perfect. Well, speaking of playoffs, so also last night, Duluth East is playing Champlain Park. I get a report about 3 minutes to go in the game. Champlain Park's up 5-4. I get another report that Duluth East pulls a goalie 6-on-5. They score, put in overtime. Duluth East ends up winning the game. So now we're talking about Andover with the loss to Andover. East beats Andover, complicates things. So how you feeling as far as the number 2 seed for the Thunderhawks here as we, like I said, get into seeding meetings next week?
Well, like we said, there had to be a win. Rapids had to get a W over Andover in order to be considered any higher than a 3.
So yeah, it could be an interesting long seating meeting next week for 7AA.
Yeah. Well, and right now there's no meeting, face-to-face meeting. It's people are sending in a vote and then they see it and then have an opportunity to respond to it, maybe stick up for your own team. The rules are you don't get to talk about anybody else's season. You only get to talk about how your season went. So it might come back to a little debate as in, well, this is why we should be this, blah, blah, blah. And then they may seed again. So,
okay. Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll have all the coverage on the seating meetings in our upcoming episodes here. So like I said, give us a follow so you're up to date on that. All right. Time to move into the previews for the week. Brought to you by our friends over at Iron Range Apparel and ODR Apparel. So we got some swag on here. Coach Larson has some swag on there. Thunderbird Mall. Now remember, Valentine's just less than a week away. Flowers are cool and everything, but why not a great gift that'll last a long time? An ODR shirt, an ODR jersey, a sweatshirt, a hoodie, something like that. So guys, gals, boys, girls, this is your place to go for Valentine's. In the Thunderbird Mall in Virginia, get your Valentine, the sweetheart, a nice, and it's more than just swag. There's all kinds of gifts. I always call it the gift buyer's paradise. So there's something there for everybody. So if you're looking for that perfect gift for that Valentine, head over to the Thunderbird Mall, Iron Range Apparel, and like I said, the exclusive provider of ODR swag. Okay, so we're going to preview big weekend for Grand Rapids. Another tough opponent, but at least this time they're coming up north, coming to town.
Yeah, we've got Benilde St. Margaret coming into the barn this weekend. We've got one game left in the regular season at the IRA with the expectation that we get a chance to play a playoff game there as well too. So that's the hope. But Benilde sitting at like 16-4 or 16-5-1 or whatever they're at right now, or 15-6-1. Pretty good schedule and a pretty darn good record right now. 5 potential guys, maybe 6 guys on their roster that will eventually be playing Division I hockey. So they've got quite a talented team. But we've seen in recent history that they have dumped some games to teams they shouldn't lose to. So the one thing that we do know is we know that they're very talented up front. They got some guys that can fly. They got some guys that can score goals. They got a 26% power play. They're sitting in a position where they're skilled and talented, and we have to be aware of their firepower. But after a little bit of confidence here last night with the Thunderhawks, and us sharpening up a little bit more on our special teams, as well as our grit and the way we play with speed and pressure, I think our speed and pressure, we might match up fairly well against a team like this. And I will always say this, that I know Ken Pauley is a good hockey coach. He's good, but we've got Wade Chito. So if there comes to understanding the game and knowing what we need to do to win, and I like our guy.
Well, Saturday matinee, IRA Civic Center, 2:00, right?
2:00.
Right. Yep. So get out to your local rink here this weekend. You can check that out and check out those flashy forwards from Benilde. All right, the game we've been talking about for quite a while here, like I said, 7 single A, that 2-3 matchup. So could be reversed by the end of that game. But over at the MEC, Valentine's night, I'm calling it the Cupid Classic.
Ooh, I like it.
The Cupid Classic. So Chisholm Hibbing versus Rock Ridge. What are you expecting? What do you think? Like goaltending duel or a hard hitting game, or maybe one of those, just like you kind of said about Rapids, up and down the ice, fast speed, lots of shots, lots of action. What do you think?
I don't know. I think both teams are just going to be emotional. I think it's going to be a hard hitting, gritty game. I think you're right with both goalies, and you Braden Boyer on one side, you got Rob Fork on the other side. Both goalies have had fantastic years. There's a first line on both teams that can put points on the board, that can move up and down the ice. They both have at least a couple of defensemen that are skilled on the back end that can go with Troutwine and Dahl on Rock Ridge, and they've got a couple of guys in Hibbing too that can go up and down
Babbage.
the ridge. Babbage, yep, a couple of guys that are pretty good on the back end. So it's going to be a fun one to see how that ends. And I would assume that you're going to be on the watch for that one. I will be in Hermantown, Rapids versus Hermantown on the last game.
That's going to be, I'll be out
for us.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there live, I think, because it is Valentine's, so date night. But I will be watching, and we'll be getting some takeout. And like I said, the rematch from last year's playoff game too, where Hibbing was a 6 seed, Rock Ridge was a 3 seed, came into the MEC and beat them. And expecting a crowd. I mean, I was at that one last year. Great crowd. I'm expecting just as big of a crowd. Should be a fun high school hockey environment. So Tuesday night, bring your honey over to the MEC to watch a really good game with big time playoff implications.
And I'm pretty sure that one is I was going to say, I think but that it will not be on My 9. The My 9 game will actually be Hermantown Rapids.
Okay. Well, you can watch that on your phone while you're sitting at the MEC.
Yeah.
What a deal.
Yep.
That's what I do. All right. Some scores and more from the week that was. A couple of interesting things happened this week. So Warroad had a home series with East Grand Forks. It must have been from 2 weeks ago when it got the cold and it got pretty bad out there. They canceled school, the wind and everything. So Monday night, they go to East Grand, pull off the 4-2 win. Last night up at the Gardens, they pull off the 3-2 win. So they remain undefeated. I keep wanting to go back and forth on this one. Now they got Bemidji tomorrow night. Warroad does, down to Bemidji. A week ago, Bemidji gives them a scare up there, 5-3 with an empty netter. I know you're sticking to it. Warroad's going to go undefeated. And I guess I kind of am too, but could be a really good matchup. But how often do you see a home and home like that in high school hockey?
Well, not very often, but I got to be honest with you. I don't think that, anytime that you're going to get 3 goals on Hammer, you better keep the puck.
Okay.
I'm telling you that right now. There's no way Hammer is going to let in more than 1 against Bemidji this next time. I'll be honest with you. Warroad's sticking with it. Warroad's going to be undefeated.
Going with it. Okay, yeah. And then they've got one more. I think Sartell. Sartell's their last.
They might give them a game. Sartell's going to be decent. They'll give them a game, but Warroad's going to win.
Warroad's going to win. All right. So speaking of Bemidji, they beat they were dropped by St. Margaret Albertville 3-2 earlier in the week. So another home and home, or not a home and home series, but another series. Ely hosted St. Paul and Johnson Friday up in Ely, Saturday over in Babbitt. I thought was cool. I don't know the last time a high school hockey game, men's game at least, has been played over in Babbitt. And Ely walked away with 2 wins, 6-3 on Friday and 8-3 on Saturday. So congratulations to they're the Timberwolves, right? Ely Timberwolves. I believe they're Timberwolves.
The Wolves.
The Wolves. Rosa over 3 Forever 3-0. Denfeld over Alex 5-4. Greenway prevailed over Crookston 2-1. Proctor was dropped by Marshall 3-2. North Shore over Moose Lake Willow River 7-1. Falls beat their bid rival across the border, Fort Francis 4-2 last night. Duluth East over Cloquet 6-4 on Monday night. Brainerd over Wilmer.
The Cardinals
13-2.
Oofta.
Yeah, and then of course the Walleye Scott Edina update. They keep rolling with a 2-1 win over Hill Murray on Saturday.
I'll tell you what, man, as much as I hate to say this because nobody likes Edina. Let's be honest, except Walleye Scott.
Yeah. Walleye Scott. Hello, Walleye Scott, by the way.
They are playing unreal hockey right now. They've been ever since they lost the first 3 games of the season.
Restart.
And that's the Giles factor right there.
Yeah. So they'll be interesting to watch, once playoff time comes. All right. So a couple other things. Super Bowl week, obviously. They had the big thing going on this week.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah. Who you got?
I could not, again, just going back to just my opinion, there's no way that I could live with myself if I had to bet against Andy Reid as a coach. I especially when you got the best quarterback in the league.
Well, that's right.
And I'm sure that's what you'll probably make a comment about Patrick Mahomes, but go ahead.
Well, I'm with you. I say I didn't even think of the Reid factor, but I think the Eagles are probably the better team, but how do you bet against Mahomes?
You don't, and you don't bet. And I'm sure they've got a great coach too. The Eagles have a great coach. I'm sure they do, but they don't have Andy Reid.
No.
They don't.
All right. So we're on the same side of the fence on this one. So the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Well, there's just more coaching that comes into, and I'm sorry, hockey's a sport where we can say, coaches have an effect. They kind of have an effect sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I'll go to bat for our coach. I'll always go to bat for Wade Chido, saying he's a great coach. You get into the sport of football, and then you'll really realize how much coaching comes into factor. Yeah. Like it makes a big difference in that sport versus other sports.
Well, there's so many guys.
There's so much that comes
offense, you have defense, you have special teams. Yeah, I could see what you're saying. Even the kicker. Look at that poor kicker for the Cowboys against the Buccaneers.
Yep.
That poor guy, he felt this big. I think that guy's got a mother that felt this big too. I feel so bad for him. All right. Speaking of the Buccaneers, Tom Brady announces his retirement this week. Is he done? 46 years old.
Don't care.
You
know what? I cared last year when he retired, and then he pulled the pin on his retirement. It's like, seriously, guy, you retire. You're not Michael Jordan. Yeah. Okay. You may be the Michael Jordan of football. All right. But Michael Jordan comes back, comes back, buys a team, goes to the, hey, you know what? Pull the pin when you're ready to pull the pin. Here's a weird situation. When Wayne Gretzky, the best hockey player to ever play the game, decided to retire, he retired.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Right? So I don't know. Tom Brady retired. Okay, good for you. Now stay retired.
Well, I remember the great line in Gretzky's retirement speech. He looks around, all the reporters, the press conference is going forever. He says, any other questions? You're not going to see me for a while. That's what he said. He said, any more questions? He's scanning the room. Yeah. You're not going to see me for a while, because that's what he did. He took it and he just went into hiding. Yeah. He didn't want any.
He wanted to get away from the press.
Wanted to get away from the press. He was living in New York at that time, obviously. So the press is everywhere. And he said, I'm going to be gone. And you didn't hear from him for a while. I mean, I don't really remember hearing about Gretzky much until he was the GM for the 0-2 in Salt Lake when the Canadians won the Olympics. He kind of resurfaced because he was
buying into the Phoenix Coyotes and coached them for a little bit too after. But no, it's interesting. There's the significance of Wayne Gretzky's retirement. April 18th, 1999.
Yes, that's true. It was in April 99. Yeah.
I got a funny story about that.
Go ahead. Oh, no.
Well, we got time. In 1997, which is the year I graduated, Wayne Gretzky played in a golf tournament in Duluth in Northland Country Club. And it was actually the Brett Hall shootout.
I was going to say, with Brett? Yeah.
Yep. And there was about 4 or 5 different NHL guys that played it there that day. And he got Wayne Gretzky to come. Well, I was thinking Wayne Gretzky is like my idol. I have to be there. So I called to find, and there was something in the newspaper, in Duluth News Tribune, that said, hey, if you're interested in helping out at the Brett Hall shootout, give a call to this number. So I called the number. I'm like, I want to help out. Like, I want to be there. So I called, and a buddy of mine and I called to see if they had jobs for a couple of, 19-year-old kids. Sure enough, they had jobs for us. They wanted us in the parking lot helping escort people and carry bags into the clubhouse. And once we did that at the beginning, Gretzky pulls up in this big, huge, now was a Lincoln Navigator.
Oh yeah.
It's basically his limousine because he wasn't driving it. He gets out of the back of it. And I'm just like, oh, that's Gretzky. It's the great one. He comes out and we helped park the cars and got them all put away. And then there's nothing going on in the parking lot. Like me and my buddy are like, what are we doing here? Like the golf tournament's out there.
Let's go.
So I'm like, they're like, we could use more help out on hole number 4. So we walk out to hole number 4 and guess who's on hole number 4? So we walk out there and there is a huge security crew walking up there. So me and my buddy walked from hole number 4 all the way through hole number 18 with Wayne Gretzky's group.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's playing in a group with the owner of Jack Links.
Oh, yeah.
Out of Minot, Wisconsin, right? And Stan Hubbard.
Hubbard Broadcasting?
Yeah.
Really?
They're in his group playing with him.
Heck of a charity deal.
Yeah.
Raise some money.
So we're walking with them, and here I am, arm in arm, walking right next to Wayne, asking him questions. And I'm like, Wayne, this is probably a really dumb question, as I'm getting everything I can get signed by him. And I said to him, I said, do you think that it would be really awesome if when you do decide to retire that you did in the year 99? He kind of looked at me and goes, I still feel like I can play right now. He didn't want to answer that question. I'm like, he's going to retire in 99. Sure enough, he retired in 99.
He did, yeah.
So he must have took my advice.
I remember that afternoon game. As a matter of fact, I was at my wife's apartment.
April 18th.
She had her bachelorette party the night before. So I'm sitting there, all by myself. She's, sleeping or whatever, and afternoon game watching that. And it wasn't a dry in the building that day.
I couldn't continue watching that game. I don't even know who they played. I don't even remember.
Penguins. Yager.
Okay.
Yager.
I just remember he did about 16 laps around the rink, waving at everybody.
Yeah. Class act.
I cried.
Yeah, one of the classics. Also did I. He's and like I said, not a dry in the building. Probably, like I said, not even.
Isn't it funny how we segued from talking about Tom Brady right back into hockey? That's awesome.
That was a great story, by the way. All right, so that is it for episode 54. Please comment. And for those of you that are podcasters, if you're on Spotify, you can go up and give us a star ranking. Please do that. If you're an Apple podcaster, not only if you scroll down, there's a place where you can give us a 5-star review. You click the 5 stars, which we'd appreciate, or 4-star, whatever you think we're worth. But there's also a place to comment. So if you want to leave a comment that helps us, you can do that for us. So Apple, you can comment. Spotify, there's no commenting. You can just give us a star review. We'd appreciate that. If you need to contact us, Goatsportsmediallc at gmail.com, or of course, you can just comment on YouTube or Facebook. We look at them all. Hammer the follow button, hammer the subscribe button. So again, T with Ms McGill now on Twitter, T McGill, capital T, capital M, everything else is small. Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're looking for us on Facebook or YouTube, Goat Sports Media LLC. Like I said, sharing is caring. If you can do that, we'd appreciate that. Merch, T-shirts, as always. Like I said, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Email us, message us. We'll find a way to get it to you. Greatest partners on earth: the Rink Sports Bar and Grill, Iron Range Apparel, 40-hour Apparel, Aspire Heating and Control, Iron Range Goalie Academy. But before we sign off, you got a big hockey happening this weekend.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, I just remembered that.
Yeah, I will not be at the Benilde game this weekend, as I am going to. This is actually the 21-year reunion weekend of my University of Wisconsin Superior team. Played back in 2002. We won the Division III national championship, the NCAA Division III national championship back in 2002. Last year, we were supposed to get together for a 20-year reunion. Mid-January, there was apparently a huge spike in COVID, and the Canadians were having a tough time with getting across the border. They canceled it at the 11th hour, and sorry about the people that had flights, but they're not going to host that with this going on. And they said, let's postpone it to next year. So now we are calling it the 21-year reunion. I'm going to be spending my weekend over in Superior, Wisconsin with the boys. I think there's going to be anywhere from about 15 to 20 of the 25 guys that were on that team that'll be there for the weekend. And we get to witness 2 games that are going to be some pretty big games for College Division III in the WIAC conference. This apparently comes down to these teams. Superior gets a sweep this weekend. They're going to end up winning the WIAC. They play against Stevens Point. So there's going to be some pretty big games to watch this weekend, and it's going to be fun in Saturday night's game where our team from O2 gets honored at center ice.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's great. And for those of you that don't know, I was alive then and playing a men's league tournament like right around the time you guys won it. And Reed Larson on the front page of the News Tribune on the back of a pickup, right?
Waving my
Yeah,
hand.
waving the victory parade. So that was I didn't know you then, but I knew who you were. But I didn't know you.
Oh, I don't know.
So no, that's good. Congratulations to all you guys. And a couple of Stevens Points guy here in town, Ross Johnson, Beckfeld. So
Yep.
Maybe they come with you.
They probably don't want to.
All right. That's a wrap for episode 54. It is Puka speaking. It is Reed Larson. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the Tea with Ms. McGill Show.